What's up, guys? So I just wanted to talk to you for a minute. I've got the video pretty well edited up. Not exactly happy with the way things turned out. My camera angles all didn't look good. I had a terrible time with the tripod. Every time I moved, the tripod would fall. Ultimately, the video just looked very amateur, very unfinished. And that's my fault for not really practicing up before I decided to do it. You know, I've done that bow drill several times with good results. I did it a lot when we were younger in Boy Scouts and stuff like that. As a matter of fact, that's how I learned how to do it. I guess I just assumed that, you know, it would just be simple to do, and obviously you watch the video and you'll see it wasn't simple to do at all. But not being a quitter, you know, we got it done. I'll admit the ending of the video is pretty abrupt, but I was over it at that point. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoy the video. I hope you learn a little something from it. You know, this is a prime example though of not being overconfident in your skills. You know, I know how it works. I've done it before successfully. This time I think, you know, I don't want to, you know, cast any blame or anything like that. I think that the palm frond that I was using may have been a little bit too old and rotten, making it weak. But that's no excuse. I should have stopped, went and found another one, used something different. So it still falls on me, but ultimately it's a good example for you to see that not everything is a win. Not everything is going to work out perfect the first time. It's not always going to be just a quick strike and a fire, just like when I used the fire steel. You know, and even that doesn't always work right. And, you know, I thought about reshooting the whole video. And then I thought about it too and said, you know, maybe it's best if I just show you what actually happened and show you that, you know, it's not always going to be easy. It's not always going to be textbook. It's not always going to go exactly like you thought it was going to go the first time. So that's where we have to kind of persevere and push through it and tweak it and make things work. So as you'll see in the video, we had to tweak it several times to make it work. I know it's not the most exciting video in the world, but hopefully you enjoy it. Here it is. Hey, what's up, guys? Sean here, Rewild Outdoors. I'm out here at my favorite little getaway spot, the same place that we filmed the foraging for fire video. Today I've had several requests to make the bow drill that we talked about in the foraging for fire video out of palm fronds. So today, that's what we're going to try to do. We're going to go out here, see if we can find all the materials we need to do that. See if we can fight off these yellow flies and get this thing done in this sweltering heat. Anyway, let's hop out of the truck. It's time to get at it. Alright guys, so I'm down here at the river. I'm going to start searching for a few things that we're going to need to make the bow drill set. If it looks like I'm sweating like crazy, it's because I am. It's super hot out here. But there's a few things we're going to need to have for a bow drill set. So we're going to need a bearing block to hold on top, and that needs to be the hardest part of your kit. That bearing block. You need a spindle, you need a bow, you need a string, and you need a hearth board. The hearth board is what you're going to drill into that's going to make the ember for you. So we need to run around here in the woods and see what we can find. What we're going to be looking for is a palm frond and probably an oak limb, preferably green, about the length of my arm from the tip of my fingers to my armpit, and then I want it about the thickness of my thumb. So let's go up here and see what we can find. Okay, so now as you can see behind me here, we found the palm tree that we were looking at when we first started talking about this in the Foraging for Fire video. We're gonna grab us a palm frond off of there, and then we're gonna get some of the palm duff out from behind the fronds, and we'll walk around here and see if we can find us an oak limb to make a bow out of. So this board here I have pulled off of there will do just about perfect for a hearth board for us. We'll have to carve it down, but I'll show you how that works. And then I think this palm frond will be just about perfect for our spindle. So let's go find us an oak limb and see if we can get this thing going. Okay, so as you can see here, I found a piece of blowdown from one of the storms we've had. I'm going to cut a piece out of this, and I'm going to split it down to make a bearing block to hold on to. Now this right here is a piece of red oak, I believe, so it should be plenty hard. Alright, let's do it. Okay, so I've got my silky saw. We're going to get ready to cut this board, or this limb. Alright, now as you can see, I've got my little log cut down. We're going to have to split this thing down and make it usable for a bearing block. Now what I've got here is my cold steel trail boss. Pop off my mask. Stick that in my pocket so I don't lose it. Now what we're going to do is try to split this down so we can make it thinner for a bearing block. Just like that. Perfect. Now we'll probably trim this down a little bit again if we can make it work. I don't know if this is going to balance right. That may actually work perfect, but if not, we've got a few different things to work with. Alright, let's go back over here. That trail boss is sharp. Let's go back over here and see if we can get everything set. see if I can find some sun. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and get this thing set up. I'll get right back to you. Okay, so what we've done is I've taken the little thin piece that I split off of there. It's just about right to fit in your hand, like that. So what I'm going to do is take it, kind of soften the edges of it up so you'll be able to easily palm it in your hand. Then we're going to take, I'm going to do it down here, you may not be able to see it, but I'm going to take and I'm going to drill a divot in it. I'm not going to do it in the palm of my hand in case it slips. That's the last thing you want to do. Now we're going to cut a shallow divot you want a shallow divot here and a sharp point on your spindle. The reason being is because you don't want any friction at the top here. So we'll get this little divot, doesn't take much, just enough to center that thing up. Okay, I know you can't see it, but there is a slight impression in there. It doesn't take much. Okay, now we've got our bearing block made. That will work fine. Then we're going to take a piece of this palm frond. You want a piece, once it's whittled down, to be about the thickness of your thumb. So I'm going to take, I think, somewhere in this section here. So I'm going to just cut a few slices in it. Cut it off. And then after this thing is cut down, it needs to be at least the length of your thumb to the end of your pinky. I want mine a little bit longer than that. That's just my preference. So, but first I'm going to go ahead, while I have room now, and I'm going to go ahead and whittle this thing down to the thickness that I want. And the reason palm frond works really good for this is because it's so soft and it gets so dry. That's what you need to create your embry. It needs to be soft and dry. That's why your bearing block needs to be of something harder. That way you're not wearing through your bearing block. Okay, now this thing doesn't have to be perfectly round. As a matter of fact, it's better if it's not perfectly round, because it gives your string something to grab a hold of. So I'm going to cut this piece off somewhere in here. Somewhere up here. The piece that's going to go onto the hearth, that's going to hit and it's going to burn through, that piece just needs to be sort of, it needs a point, but it needs a blunt point. It doesn't need a sharp point. It needs something just big enough to kind of center it up. Now this doesn't have to be perfect. And then the top end of it needs a long, sharp point. Again, the reason you want that long, sharp point is so you don't have a ton of friction at the top. Like that. Now what you're going to end up with is this mating up into here, and it's going to spin with very little friction in there because they're not the same angle. So now you've got your bearing block and your spindle. Now this will be your hearth board. That's this piece. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly cut this thing flat where it'll set fairly flat on the ground. Kind of eyeball it, that's all I'm going to do. Now I don't need all of this section here, so I'm going to go ahead and get my saw back out, which I've got it hanging up here. My silky saw, and I'm just going to saw this piece off. So we'll set it across here. This is not the easiest thing to do here, and try to keep it in frame. So, I don't want to saw into my leg, but I want to keep it still enough that you can see what I'm doing. It'd be better if I had a wood block or something to work on. And I'll be honest with you, there is a log over there, but that log is directly in the sunshine, and I'm not going to do that. Alright, so I've got that piece cut off. I set my silky saw aside. Be careful when you're setting your tools on the ground. Make sure you're setting them somewhere that you're going to be able to see them and they're not going to get covered up with dirt. So now on your bearing block, this piece down here, I'm not even going to worry about that. My foot's going to set across that, and it'll almost be just a natural hump for me to hold that down. I'm going to take this top side down and get it as flat as I can, and then I'll show you how we're going to put a divot in it too to get it started. So we're going to get this down. Now, you see how I've cut that sort of flat right there? Now I'm going to take this side off, and I'm going to go flat there too. Now we've got a nice flat edge right there. Now again, I'm going to start and make a divot in here. But I'm not going to make much because now I want this
I want it to match up with that blunt point on there. So I'm going to set this down and just make a little divot to get started. Now, see that little divot right there? That's going to set in here. See how that sets tighter? That will spin until it'll burn in, until it completely matches flush, just like a ball. Okay, so now the next thing we're going to do is we've got our oak stick. We've got, this end's got a natural V in it. This end we're going to cut a little notch in for our string to set in there. Probably, actually, I'm going to see if we can do this safely with the silky saw so we're not splitting this. It needs to be in line with the Y if we can safely do this. If not, we'll do something different. Now, I'm not putting a lot of pressure on this saw right now. I'm just letting it kind of work itself because I don't want it to jump out of there and come down on my hand. Now, I know I'm probably going to have some people say, hey, that's not the safe way to do it. And it's probably not the safest way. But we got our notch. Having said that, I don't condone doing stuff the wrong way at all. Alright, so on this end, I'm going to just make a simple little loop because it's just going to go right over that V. Just basically a overhead or overhand knot, whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to just loop that across, and that's going to sit in the V. This end is going to go in the notch, but we don't want this to be super tight yet. Remember, you got to be able to twist it to put your spindle in there. Okay, so after you get that where you kind of like where you want it in there, we're going to wrap it a few times. And I'm going to come back through the V. And that will lock it down. Now I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to just cut it off. There's an owl hooting over there. I was always told when the owl hoots, the fish are biting. Okay, so you see, we got our bow. Now what we're going to do, we're going to take your spindle and put your spindle in there and twist it. Now, that's the reason that you don't want it too tight, because now it's tight. Okay, so we've got our bearing block, or no, we've got our hearthboard, we've got our spindle, our bow, our string, and we've got our bearing block. Now we need some tinder to start this fire once we get our ember. Okay, see, I've got the duff out of the palm tree, and I would take this, tear it up, just like you would with the fire steel. Make a bird's nest in it with it, like Try to get you around here where you can see. Now what's going on is every time I start to try to turn the spindle, it's so tight that it's pulling the spindle out. So we're going to loosen this up a little bit. Give it just a little slack. Pull it back through tight. Go around a couple times. And back through. Now let's try this again. See, that's part of the problem. This thing is so slick that it's not catching on it. I'm going to just give it some flat spots to catch on. Now, let's try this again. Get it back in our divot. This isn't working like I wanted it to. So, maybe loosening it up wasn't the right thing. Maybe we need to tighten it up some. This is all trial and error. This is the very reason why you start building your fire before you need your fire. Because fire is not always an easy thing to acquire. Spindle broke. Alright, let's try this again. Okay, I made us a new spindle. It's a little longer. See if we can make this work a little better. Okay, we're starting to get a little burn. Okay, and You see, we've got the end kind of burned there. We've got that burned. One of the things that helped on this was making a longer spindle where I could hold it higher and control it. Now what we're going to do here, if you can see, is we're going to notch here. So this dust will be able to fall through. So we're going to put a little notch. And I want to V it down below it, if that makes sense. Now if you can see what I've done there, and I made a V where it spreads at the bottom, and that will allow all that to go through. Okay, now that I've got this thing kind of working the way I want it to, a lot of guys will get their ember in here and then they will transfer it in here. But what I'd like to try today is just see if I can burn it right into here. Now I don't really see anybody else doing that, and it could be because that's not the best way to do it, but that's what I want to try today. I've got to get my foot up on it tight right there. Get this here. Get my bearing block back on top. Now, are you kidding? Oh, here we go again. Alright, we're having technical difficulties here. Let's see what we got to do. Now you see what happened. I've got my notch cut to fit the other one, and now this one doesn't fit. So I had to do another divot. And there are reasons why people invented the lighter. Because this is not an easy thing to do. See, I get it started. Oh, as a rule, I don't like to give up on stuff, but this thing's making me question my abilities here. Let's try it again. Okay. Now, we've got it burned in again. Let's cut our notch again. Maybe not quite so wide this time. Try number 2, or number however many this is. This is very aggravating. Very aggravating. Well, let's don't give up on it. The problem is when you cut the V in it, it gives the board or the stick somewhere to pop out at. And it allows it to come out. So, oh goodness. Alright, try number 4. I don't know, guys, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it. They're not always wins, you know. Right there. Don't move your foot. Go right back to the same spot. Don't try to go too fast. smoke. Alright, well, I don't know if I got it all on camera or not. It's moving so fast. But once it went, it went. This is not at all an easy thing to accomplish. Not at all. This it's a lot of work. My advice, make sure you take a lighter with you, or at least a fire steel in the woods, because this is a lot of work. I know why people don't do it very often now. A lot of work. Hey, it's me again. So as I said, I thought about reshooting the whole video. And doing it here at the Green Frog. But I decided not to reshoot the whole video. But as you can see, I've got all the stuff to do it with right here. And then I got to thinking about it. Why don't we update this thing to the 21st century? Here we go. Let's see if we can make this work. Let's see if we can make this work. Not even with the drill. I'll be back. Sometimes you just need a lighter.